Okay, so I was just recording myself in this terrible lighting. Or I thought I was, but I wasn't. So, my God, I said I was going to bed. It's 4:01 a.m. And I just wanted to say, humility is the ability to recognize that other people have a right to say no to you, and that's acceptable and that's okay. And humility is the willingness to have the ability and the capacity to recognize that other people get to decide for themselves what is right for them, including that not being with you, whether you were married for decades, dating for years, months, had, something like what I had, which on my side of things, my side of the aisle, it looked like an 8-year best friendship with benefits kind of tangled in within loveness and all this crossing of lines and all these things. And at some point a few years ago, he made it clear to me that his side of the aisle didn't look like that at all. It just looked like, yeah, somebody I used to know. And humility is recognizing that other people have other experiences. And even though you might have been right there, literally sucking face with them and then some. Mm-hmm. 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 And that. And going places and having things and, you know. And you had kids and you built a life. And you were like, this is a family and this is everything. And boppity bop bop, we're so compatible. You're so perfect for me. And everything about you, from your head to your toes, and this and that and the other thing, and inside and out, and all up around and down, inside out and backwards, from the moon and back and all around, and every cell in my body, and every vibrational wiggle in the universe. You're perfect for me, except for like you don't want me part, And that's the part where you need humility to say, oh, maybe my definition is skewed, like the way my face gets skewed when I get close to the freaking thing. Maybe your definition of perfection is a bit fucked up because you're blocked. You're emotionally unavailable. The only reason a person would ever, and is ever, obsessively obsessed with somebody who they cannot have is because they're not emotionally available. Okay, so like in the case of grief because somebody passed on, well, yeah, of course you're not emotionally available. You're not ready because the person that you were in love with unexpectedly left, and now you have to go through however long of healing that you need to go through. And so you could be specific person obsessed with somebody who's no longer here, and there's no amount of anything that you could ever do that would make that person physically here again. And I'm falling asleep, but that just scared the shit out of me because something felt. It was like a shirt fell down. And I'm like, I don't have any pets. Why did something just fall? Or you could be obsessed, like me, obsessed with, the one that got away. Who I thought, oh, this is the thing I wanted to share. I had thought for like all those 8 years, more than 8, I had thought that he had been secretly in love with me. I always thought that. I always really believed that. And then somehow it became this weird thing where it was like, even though he was like, nah. I was like, no, I know better. Somehow I know better. But that is, when you think you know better than the person, that's because you're not ready for real love. And you need to learn boundaries. You need boundaries so bad. You need boundaries for yourself. You need boundaries with other people. You need boundaries around what you believe is the way love, the path of love is walked upon and lived and experienced. And when you start to walk in a daily sense of yourself deserving love that's active, like, I like you and I want to be like, okay, I have a very confusing relationship with love because the people in my life who were in the roles, parental roles and sibling roles and other roles that were, you know, supposedly there to love me or who could have loved me, they loved me, but it's always been very challenging for me. And the more I'm starting to heal my own issues that really actually had nothing to do with really any of them, because the people who initially traumatized me, it's not them. And my mom and dad, who did end up taking us full-time, permanent, sole custody, raised us, they didn't have the tools to deal with it. They had their own emotional shit that they didn't even know how to handle or deal with or face about love and how they were loved and not loved and all that stuff, you know? And now I can see all that, but when you're growing up, you don't know those things. You don't understand those things. At least not at the level you do when you're much decades older. And even with my SP obsession guy, I don't have any ill will. Like, he has been a catalyst for so many things in my life as far as spiritual growth, desire growth, relationship desire that makes me want to be able to be that person. Like, I've recognized for years that one of the things I love about him the most is the fact that he's not there. I love the fact that he's not here because I really want to be alone. And my SP obsession has just been an emotional wrestling because I didn't even know how to deal. Like, once I get through levels of healing and healing and healing, I know that there will be the layer, the level, like, eventually the seed of me that doesn't want to be alone is going to come out. And I don't want to ultimately be alone. But at this point in my life, I am reveling in my aloneness and I love it. I needed it. I wanted it. I craved it. I created it. And being obsessed with an SP who was never going to come through for me was part of that. And I had to acknowledge that it was all my own manifestation. And he was just an emotional tool, an emotional, like I said, a placeholder. I had a lot of love for him, for real. I mean, he always was the quintessential husband in my mind. Ever since the moment I first saw him, I was like, oh yeah, that's the one. Like, that's my husband right there. And it didn't play out that way. And that's okay. There's people who they saw that person set it back. They did the thing. They had the kids. They had the marriage. They had the house. They had the whole life. And now you got to face that they don't want you. And that's hard. And it's also hard when you're trapped in a prison of your own unhealed wounds. And the best you could muster is an SP obsession with somebody who doesn't want you. And the reason for that is the reasons. You have your reasons. You have your reasons for why you're obsessed with somebody that you don't actually have to be with. And you don't actually have to do the things that you would need to do to be with somebody for real. And that's your work. And that's my goodbye. Humility to know that you were filming and chatting away, but you weren't actually filming and chatting away.